all the expenditure relating to this particular Chromebook, so how much we paid for this Chromebook, PO numbers, invoice numbers associated to this particular Chromebook, the funding source, so if it was purchased using a particular funding program, again, you can run queries on there, so it's easy to identify all the assets which were purchased with a particular funding program, and if that funding program was used on a particular year as well. So not only the funding source, but being able to identify which sort of funding year that came out of. Depreciation, so we can automatically calculate the current value of the asset based on the depreciation scheme. And there's a few districts I know where they use the depreciated value for things like chargebacks, if a device is lost, for example. But we can automatically calculate the depreciated value of an asset.
Hey, Dean, there's one thing I wanted to mention there to actually just jog my memory. Back down on the depreciation scheme, or the funding source, I should say, and then the funding source year. That's a great example too, where we can apply what we call dependent value workflow. I think it's something that districts are interested in as well. So if a specific funding source is only associated with a finite number of years, that funding source year field can be limited to only the funding source years that are valid for the funding source itself. In other words, the funding source year field is dependent on the value of the funding source field. And obviously, this is just an example of two related fields, or dependent value fields. This can be made, any field can be dependent on the value of another field. Really important to note that that's the type of configuration that Visor is capable of. And I know that this is also, the second thing I wanted to mention here, this is also a point at which I think a lot of districts start looking at the fields that we have and start thinking about their own fields or their own captions, and they want to know about whether or not they can add. And I know you've mentioned it, but I want to highlight it here that you can add any field in Visor that you want as well. So there's no limit to the number of fields that you can add, and there's no limit to where you can add them. You can add your own tabs across the top there in the background of the asset. You can add your own fields. You can add your fields to our tabs, or our fields to your tabs, rename, remove, delete, to your heart's content, essentially. And so it's important to note that you have that ability to add all of those values, and of course that we can add them for you during the implementation process. And the last thing I'll mention on that, sorry, is that these fields take on the exact same characteristics as our fields. So these are first-class fields. There's no limit to your ability to include them, for example, in things like notifications and workflows and reports. So it's really important to note that we don't limit our users, Visor users, in any way regarding their configurations of their own fields.
Yes, so as well as the initial purchase of the device, we can see any other expenditure related to it. So in this case, if I click through here, we can see a extended warranty, which is purchased for this device and another sort of 64 devices. And we can drill into that warranty, and again see PO numbers of stakeholders who were involved with that particular sort of a purchase, in this case of an extended warranty. And just underneath, so if we want to be alerted when that extended warranty comes up to expire, so we can set when we want to be alerted and which stakeholders, which users are going to receive an alert when that warranty comes up to expire.
Yeah, that's an important one too that I'm going to jump in on again. Stakeholders represents a list of any user. It can be macros or it can be specific users, so owner of this asset, or so regardless of who the owner is, or a specific person, Michael Downer or Brendan Bryan or whomever you want. And stakeholders are throughout. You can add stakeholders for different different transactions of different types or notifications, but stakeholders are essentially any patron, any user, any group of users that need to receive a special alert or a special update or information that you want to display for them. You can certainly use that stakeholders tab to do so for different transactions.
Yeah. So, and just continuing the warranty story, so Jeff mentioned previously for Dell and Lenovo devices, we're going to utilize their API. So any warranty information which they're holding, so either OEM warranties or additional warranty purchases, they're going to just come through into Visor. You don't need to key any of those in, and you can query upon those. And for other manufacturers, then it's easy to import that data. And I'll sort of show you how that works in a few moments. But it's easy to get that data into Visor as well. And then you can use a combination of the warranty data, the AUE date, your life cycle sort of data to get that end of support and build in that retirement planning for your district.